when you think about the great run of 1970s disaster movies, I'm sure the names The Towering Inferno, The Poseidon Adventure, and even Earthquake will probably spring to mind. And they're all star-studded affairs, you know, high concept, big budgets, etc. that I'm sure were box office hits at the time. Now, one that, despite appearing in many best of the genre lists, doesn't get enough love is 1976's The Cassandra Crossing. So we have a train full of passengers here that have been exposed to a plague-like virus. A multitude of stars such as Burt Lancaster, Ava Gardner, Martin Sheen, Richard Harris, Sophia Loren, etc. And what it has over other films that I've just mentioned is the fact that it moves from virus movie to runaway train movie to government cover-up movie to almost Die Hard on a Train movie, really. And it even throws in an undercover cop drug trafficking plot. It's all brilliantly preposterous. So let's take a look. Alright, so what we have in The Cassandra Crossing is Contagion mixed with Unstoppable, mixed with Under Siege 2, mixed with the end of 1996's Mission Impossible. Director George P. Cosmatos, who we'll talk about soon, manages to direct the dictionary definition of an all-star cast here. After a botched terrorist attack on a government building housing dodgy viruses, an infected man jumps aboard a European transcontinental train. And that's where Burt Lancaster, as the military bigwig, tries to cover up the loss of a weaponised virus, along with Ingrid Thurlin's Dr. Eleanor Stradner. He's the guy in the control room essentially orchestrating the containment and eventual fate of all on board the train. And on board this train, we have a genuine plethora of acting talent. Handily, we have Richard Harris as a neuroscientist who is the medical superstar organising the passengers and eventually leading an uprising, which we'll get to in a minute, with his ex-wife, who's also there, of course, in the shape of Italian screen icon Sophia Loren. We also have O.J. Simpson as a priest with a secret agenda. Hollywood legend Ava Gardner plays an heiress here, travelling with her toy boy, a young Martin Sheen as a stud with his own secrets. And now I'm sure that in the past, when I've reviewed films like The Towering Inferno or Airport, I'm always fascinated by the fact that this genre feels the need to shoehorn in a musical number at some point. I'm sure these films had a wide audience and it was an opportunity to sell some records, I guess. Music tie-ins, of course, have always been a part of the film industry, but having them performed on screen randomly always gives me a bit of a chuckle.
Tried to find where time and tides are flowing.
Anyway, The Cassandra Crossing was directed by and co-written by George P. Cosmatos, who didn't make many films, maybe about a dozen, maybe less. He made 1993's Tombstone, along with films like Stallone's Cobra and Rambo First Blood Part 2, which might make sense once this film takes a turn into a bullet fest in its final third. Here he shoots a mixture of great European scenery and tight and tense train interiors, along with the sterile, almost sci-fi-esque command centre that Lancaster works from. Now, in true 70s disaster flick style, performances and hysterics are dialed up to the max here. And once we realise that the virus doesn't affect everyone on board, notably none of the main cast are affected, and that the train is being rerouted into Poland via the Cassandra Crossing, a bridge that may or may not hold the weight of the train. Spoiler alert, it won't.
The Cassandra Crossing. It's unsafe.
Now, Dr. Chamberlain, you listen to me. We've had that bridge tested for stress tolerance by computer and personal inspection. I've got the figures right here in front of me. The Polish government has spent more money in the last 2 years rebuilding that bridge than it cost to build the goddamn thing in the first place.
Now, I do like the little side plot here with Lee Strasberg's Jewish Holocaust survivor realising he's now trapped on a boarded up train heading into an isolation camp in Poland. This freaks him out as his past seems to be coming back, literally. It's quite a deep and haunting plot strand in the middle of some of the zaniest 70s action you'll see.
But that bridge couldn't exist there now. I can't go.
God, no! No!
And with director Cosmatos keeping things moving through a series of bonkers set pieces, one seeing a helicopter called in to lift an infected dog from a moving train in a thrillingly daft sequence that's one of a few elements Brian De Palma seems to have pinched for his Mission Impossible climax. The other being Martin Sheen's train roof escape scene, which does highlight the 20-year gulf in visual effects.
Come on!
Now, of course, it's unfair to judge a film nearly 50 years old by today's action movie standards, and The Cassandra Crossing's by no means the longest disaster movie, but it does spend a chunk of its 2-hour runtime on some soap opera shenanigans between Harris and Loren. And when the film does cut back to Burt Lancaster in his control room, a lot of the urgency of the film establishes halts, such as the motivation of his character. He's in no hurry to do anything. It's actually in a few of these scenes that you realise Ingrid Thurlin's makeup is actually the film's biggest disaster. Now, The Cassandra Crossing is categorised as a disaster movie, and like I mentioned, you'll frequently find it in the best of disaster movie lists, but it's no real spoiler to say that there's a certain point when the virus aspect of the film is substituted for an action-packed survival movie, as the train's population realise the danger that lies ahead in the structurally unsound bridge and must take over the train from the government agents. Of course, here we have Richard Harris's doctor become James Bond for a little bit, and some pretty brutal moments of innocent bystanders caught in gunfire. And for me, this is where the film earns its significance, as it offers up one of the most grisly catastrophes in the disaster movie genre, with a finale that wouldn't really be out of place in a more modern Final Destination style movie, earning the film an R rating on release. Certainly not the most family friendly entry in the genre. Now, it might not be the best disaster movie or the best virus movie or the best action movie, but its boldness to try and be all three and its zany cast of characters with everyone getting a chance to chew some scenery and ham it up has to be commended. It also features another solid Jerry Goldsmith score that helps keep the whole thing on the tracks. Go check it out.